The hedgerow smelled like cut grass and diesel. Inside a British Sherman Firefly, the loader's hands were not steady. They could not be. Down the narrow Normandy lane ahead, 5 German Panther tanks were approaching. The commander watched through his periscope and counted silently. 1, 2, 3 Panthers appeared around the bend nearly 800 meters away. Then a 4th, then a 5th. They emerged slowly from the tree line in a staggered column, steel giants moving with deliberate confidence. The long barrel of the Firefly's 17-pounder gun adjusted slightly, half a degree to the left. The gunner rested his finger on the trigger. Sweat ran into his eyes. He did not blink. 5 Panthers, 1 gun, and only minutes to decide who would live and who would burn. After the Second World War, a certain story became popular. It said the American-built Sherman Tank was a death trap, too lightly armored, too weakly armed. German tanks like the Panther and the Tiger were supposed to destroy Shermans easily from more than a mile away. Veterans repeated the claim. Historians echoed it. Films and documentaries turned it into common belief. But on one summer afternoon in Normandy in 1944, a short battle told a very different story. In just 12 minutes, a single Sherman Firefly crew destroyed 5 German Panther tanks. The fight did not happen on an open battlefield. It happened in a narrow lane surrounded by the thick hedgerows of Normandy, and it proved something important. In tank warfare, specifications on paper rarely decide the outcome. What matters is who sees the enemy first, and who does not miss. By mid-June 1944, the Allied invasion of Normandy had stalled. The beaches had been secured, but the breakout that commanders expected had not happened. The countryside of Normandy was unlike any battlefield most soldiers had seen. Ancient hedgerows divided the land into thousands of small fields. Each hedgerow was a thick wall of earth and roots, sometimes taller than a man. Behind every one of them could be an ambush. Every lane became a killing ground. British and American tanks advanced slowly, yards instead of miles, and then the German Panthers began to arrive. The Panther tank was Germany's response to the shock of the Soviet T-34 in 1941. Its design was impressive. The front armor measured 80 millimeters thick and was sharply angled. That slope made it even stronger than many heavier tanks. Its 75-millimeter gun fired at extremely high velocity. In theory, a Panther could destroy a Sherman from more than 2,000 meters away. On paper, it was one of the most powerful medium tanks of the war. But the battlefield was not paper. Panther tanks had problems. Their final drives often broke down after only about 150 kilometers of travel. Visibility through their periscopes could be poor in rain or dust, and their side armor was surprisingly thin, only 40 millimeters thick. In the tight hedgerow country of Normandy, long-range engagements almost never happened. Most tank battles occurred at distances under 500 meters, and at those distances, the Panther was no longer invincible. The British had prepared a solution. It was called the Sherman Firefly. The Firefly was an improvised but powerful idea. British engineers took the reliable American Sherman tank and modified it. They installed the massive 17-pounder anti-tank gun inside the turret. The weapon was so large that the turret had to be altered to fit it. The radio was moved. The recoil mechanism required additional space. Everything inside the turret became cramped. But the result was worth it. The 17-pounder could penetrate about 140 millimeters of armor at 500 meters, enough to defeat the Panther's protection if the shot landed correctly. German commanders quickly learned to fear these modified Shermans. Orders were issued to identify and destroy Fireflies first. Their long barrels made them recognizable. British crews responded by disguising them. Some painted sections of the barrel. Others wrapped the muzzle brake in cloth to make the gun appear shorter. Anything to avoid detection. One of these Fireflies waited quietly beside a narrow Normandy lane on a June afternoon. The position had been chosen carefully. The tank sat hull down behind a ruined stone barn. The engine was switched off to reduce noise. From this spot, the crew had a clear view down about 400 meters of lane. Beyond that distance, the hedgerows blocked everything. The crew had been waiting since early morning. Hours passed without movement. The June heat built inside the steel hull. The turret smelled of oil, sweat, and gunpowder. Beside the loader's knee sat the massive shells of the 17-pounder. Each weighed nearly 17 kilograms. Heavy brass cases filled with explosive power. The men inside the tank said very little. They simply watched. Veterans later said the quiet moments before battle were always the strangest. You noticed ordinary sounds, birds in the hedges, wind in the grass, the distant hum of insects. Then suddenly everything changed. At 14:35 hours, the ground began to vibrate. Heavy engines approached. 45 tons of steel moving at speed creates a vibration you can feel through the ground. The commander leaned closer to the periscope. The gunner turned the turret slowly using manual controls. The loader lifted a shell and slid it carefully into the breech. No one spoke. The rule was simple. Wait until the target was certain. Do not fire too soon. The first Panther appeared around the bend, nearly 800 meters away. Behind it came 4 more. They advanced confidently in a staggered column. The Firefly remained completely hidden, 600 meters. The lead Panther slowed slightly. Its commander scanned the hedgerows. Something had caught his attention, but not the Firefly, 500 meters. The Panther turret began turning slowly, still searching, 400 meters. Now the Panther's gun pointed in the wrong direction. The British commander made his decision. Fire. The 17-pounder did not simply boom. It cracked with violent force. The shell crossed 400 meters in less than half a second. It struck the Panther in the side of its turret. The armor was thin there. The shell punched through instantly. Black smoke burst from the hatches. Inside the Firefly, the breech block slammed open. The empty casing clattered onto the floor. The loader already had another round ready. Up, second target. The next Panther tried to reverse, but the narrow lane trapped it. The Firefly fired again. The shell struck the side hull. The explosion inside the tank lifted its turret slightly before it slammed back down. 2 Panthers destroyed. The third Panther reacted faster. Its turret swung toward the barn. Third target, the gunner fired, but the shot missed. The shell struck the hedgerow, sending earth into the air. Inside the Firefly, the word hung in the air. Miss. The German Panther fired back. Its 75mm shell screamed past the Firefly's turret, so close that the shockwave rang against the hull. Just 15 centimeters lower and the Sherman would have been destroyed. The gunner adjusted, steady, fire. This time the shell struck the Panther's gun mantlet. The tank stopped instantly. 3 Panthers destroyed, but 2 more remained. The 4th Panther attempted to push past the burning wrecks. Smoke filled the lane. Visibility was poor. The British commander chose a different target. Track it. The Firefly fired. The shell smashed into the Panther's drive mechanism. The tank lurched sideways and stopped. The lane was now blocked completely. The 5th Panther tried desperately to find the hidden gun. Its turret turned toward the Firefly. For a moment the engine compartment was exposed. Final target. The loader forced the last shell into the breech. His hands were bleeding from hot brass casings. Up. The gunner fired. The shell struck the Panther's engine. Flames spread quickly across the rear deck. 5 Panthers destroyed. The battle had lasted 12 minutes. Inside the Firefly, no one celebrated. The turret was filled with smoke. The loader sat on the floor, exhausted. Outside, 5 columns of black smoke rose above the hedgerows. The radio message was simple. 5 enemy tanks destroyed, no friendly casualties. The official report was only a few paragraphs long. It recorded the destruction of 5 Panther tanks, 6 rounds of ammunition fired, no losses. What it did not record were the emotions, the near miss, the fear, or the hours the crew spent afterward watching the wrecks burn. The event did not change the war by itself, but it revealed something important. The Sherman versus Panther debate was never just about armor thickness or gun size. In the tight hedgerows of Normandy, range and specifications mattered less than positioning and patience. The Panther was still a powerful tank, but when surprised at close range, even it could be destroyed quickly. The Firefly had done exactly what it was designed to do: stop German armor before it could break through. 3 weeks later, the same Firefly was destroyed in another battle. A different crew, a different lane. War rarely allows the same luck twice. Today, that Normandy lane still exists. The hedgerows have grown thick again. The ruins of the old barn remain. Farmers occasionally find shell fragments while plowing their fields. Quiet reminders of 12 violent minutes in 1944. 5 Panthers, 6 shells, 1 hidden Firefly. Tank battles are often remembered for famous vehicles and dramatic battles, but sometimes history turns on moments that lasted only minutes. If you had been inside that Firefly, waiting in silence while 5 Panthers approached, would you have had the patience to hold your fire? Or would fear have forced you to shoot too early? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you enjoy detailed war history stories like this, consider subscribing for more documentaries about the hidden moments of the Second World War.